The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty.
Earnestly Speaking podcast coming to you October 15th, 2024. I can't speak today. It's been a long morning, been a long night also too. My youngest son's home from school today again because he's been sick. He got sick last night, but he's been out from school for the week because of the hurricane and all this stuff. And school started again after a couple of days today, but he couldn't go today because he's been feeling awful. So I've been dealing with that all day. But he's getting a little better. He's getting better too, also too, as well. So thank you again. Anyway, I came in here smoking. I had something to say, and I don't want to say anymore. But we got a big show today. We got a really big show today. Loaded show here. We have on, of course, Student Gang Kyle Nash coming on at the end of the segment. And then on the back end, we're going to have Duke Bennett of the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast as we talk. We're going to review, actually, the big documentary on Netflix on Vince McMahon called Mr. McMahon, which I just finished, actually, this weekend, finally. Let me tell you, you'll want to listen to that conversation a little bit. Phenomenal doc. Lots to say about that. Lots of takeaways on that whole thing. But let's start here first, because you guys know all my attention right now, sports wise, is on the New York Mets, who are now officially tied the NLCS at 1 game apiece. You know what a difference 20 hours makes. Where Sunday night I'm watching, and it's funny because Sunday night I'm watching both the Giants game, and thank God for my setup downstairs in my home. I have two TVs downstairs. I have the Giants game on one TV. I got the Mets game and Dodgers on the Mets Dodgers game on the other one, the NLCS. Both my teams lose. Obviously, I mean, I'm more mad about the Mets losing, obviously, because the stakes are higher in that one. I already know the Giants stink, so I'm not worried about all that. But quick turnaround for Game 2, so Game 1 started 8:00 Eastern time on Sunday night. Game 2, first pitch at 4:00. 4:08 to be exact, on Monday afternoon, Eastern time as well. And what if it's two games, 20 hours makes? The Mets looked lifeless in the first game. I mean, credit to the Dodgers pitching, who's been dominant for the last 3 games prior to Game 2. In fact, 3 straight games of scoreless innings, almost broke the record for most scoreless innings in postseason ever. And then Francisco Lindor broke that for the leadoff home run in Game 2. But now we got 3 now at the old Shea at MetLife, not MetLife, at Citi Field, and I don't know how I feel about the series. I already told you this is all house money for me at this point. The Dodgers are supposed to be here. The Dodgers are supposed to win it all. They have by far the best roster in baseball. I had Dodgers win the World Series before the season started. I had Dodgers win the World Series before this playoff started. So I'm not necessarily hedging anything here. I'm not saying that out of pocket. Come on now. But there's going to be a fight, probably. There's going to be a fight. And even last night, being up 6-0, I kept saying, it's too early to get these runs. We got all our first 6 runs of the game in the first 2 innings. You had the Lindor solo shot in the first inning. Then you had the grand slam by Vientos. By the way, Mark Vientos has been what a revelation this dude's been. What a revelation. This dude's been fucking amazing for this team. So the grand slam there. And then the Dodgers kept clawing back and back. And they threatened, had the bases juiced a couple of times in the later innings. They had a chance to tie the game a couple of times and just didn't. And the Mets kept leaving guys stranded on base between innings 3 through 8. I kept saying, I don't give a damn how big this lead is. These are the Dodgers. These dudes will come back if you get an opportunity to do that. And luckily for the Mets, our Mets, my Mets, whatever you want to call it, they held on. Because I'll tell you what, had they lost game 2, this shit's over. Probably in a sweep, probably in 5 games, no more than 5 games. But now you got best of 5 series now. Three of those games going to be in New York now. It's going to be a very fired up Citi Field. First NLCS game there since 2015 when we played the Cubs. But I'm feeling I'm feeling optimistic about this team because again, they have nothing to lose. And people say, "Oh, well, because that payroll, of course, highest payroll in baseball and this and that." And yeah, I get all that. But you remember how the season started, of course. No one had the Mets going this far, and you remember the Mets, starting 11 games under 500 by the end of May. Certainly, if you told me back in May 23rd that the New York Mets would be in the NLCS, even at 1 game apiece, going to Game 3 at Citi Field, 3 games straight, I would say, get the fuck out of here. There's no way this is gonna happen. That ain't happening. But we're here. We're here now. So we'll see. So it's been a very interesting series so far. On an American League Championship Series started last night. Yankees won 5-2 in that one. I know people are jonesing for the jonesing for the Subway Series. Not me, because I hate the Yankees anyway. So whatever. Go Guardians. Yes, I said it. To all my fellow Giant fans who are Yankee fans too. I did say it. Go Guardians. Although the Guardians are going to that series, though. Come on, let's be real. So there's that when it comes to the Mets. Game 3 is close to Wednesday night. I'll be locked in. Well, we'll be locked in, but fortunately for me, but I'll be, and I'll tell you guys in a second what's going on with me in just a second while. I'll be distracted during that game as well, too. We did get some breaking news, though, before I came on here within the last hour. And we'll discuss I'll talk more about it with Kyle Nash on the next segment of the show. Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers are reuniting officially. Devontae Adams officially traded to the New York Jets, I believe, for a conditional 3rd-round pick, which my boy Chris said this in the text that most likely will be a 2nd-round pick. That was fast. Like, after last night's shit show of a game in Monday Football, where you had 22 penalties between both teams, I knew this whole Adams situation would escalate because the Jets' offense is boo-boo, man. The Jets' offense is complete boo-boo. Never did I think it would go down this quickly in 10 hours, less than 12 hours. That I didn't see coming. So the fact that it happened this quick means Willie Johnson is definitely desperate, this Jets team. And it's the right move because they have to go all in. Rodgers, who knows how long his window's going to be. It could be 1 year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, see how it feels. But my thoughts on this real quick for this trade is this for the Jets. Is the hole too big already? They're 2-4 now. Again, we'll discuss with Kyle Nash on the next segment. Is the hole too big? We'll see. But right now, excuse me, they need to put all the eggs in the basket, go all in. You already paid top dollar for this roster. You got to go all in. So I don't hate the move. Adams still, when healthy and obviously with confident quarterback play is still a top 5 to 10 receiver in the league. You're bringing on Rodgers now. This should also help Garrett Wilson too. Also on top of that, he's been disappointed this year too as well. But it's the bottom line for me. That this trade ain't gonna mean shit if that offensive line ain't gonna be better because they were trash last night. And I am not absolving Aaron Rodgers at all for how he's been this year. But that O-line's been absolute trash this year. And last night was no better. Excuse me, my damn allergies, man. So my thing is with this move for, the Jets, it's a great move. Yes, it helps. But y'all got to fix that O-line. The O-line, everything's about the O-line. If you can't protect Rodgers, this dude will be hurt before November. Straight up. So there's that. We'll talk to Kyle about that in a couple minutes about exactly about that move. One more thing. I just realized today, we are now exactly 3 weeks away from the election. I'm gonna tell y'all. Let me tell y'all my feel on this whole thing. People ask me what's gonna happen. We predicting EJ. What's gonna happen? You know what I mean? Honestly, have no feeling about this election whatsoever. I have no feeling about this in terms of like I know who I'm voting for. You guys know who I'm voting for. That's not the conversation, the topic here. You asked me for a prediction. I can't give one. I don't have one, and I don't think I think at this point I'm not going to have one because number one, I think we're all out of the. Now I say that, but there's still 3 weeks away. Anything can happen next 3 weeks. But as zany as this election cycle's been between two, assassination attempts, one president, sitting president, run for election, who decided to opt out of the race. It's been a very zany cycle anyway, that for me to give a prediction on this whole thing, I can't. I just don't know. You have one candidate who's extremely polarizing, who's loved by the people who love him, but also equally hated by people who hate him as well too. But then people also in the when it comes to Kamala Harris, people who don't know what she's about, think she's wishy-washy, think she's not defined, who have questions about her. They trust her, not trust her, I don't know. I mean, the polling has Kamala slightly ahead, but again, the key word is slightly ahead. And again, folks don't trust polls either on either side of the aisle. Don't trust polls. So people have been asking me, who you think's going to win the election? I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. We are going through a massive realignment now, politically speaking. That I think people are noticing. And there are folks who I know personally that were Trump supporters in 2020 that now flip sides now vote for Kamala. But equally too, I've seen people who also were run-of-the-mill Democrats, liberals, who have now decided to vote for Trump or support Trump in this election. There's so much uneasiness and tension and all that going on as we lead up to this election. And I don't have a feel on this election right now. I just don't have a feel for it. Because when Trump was surging before Biden got dropped out of the race, it felt like Trump was the heavy favorite. Then when Kamala came back, when Kamala took over the reins from Joe Biden's carcass, sorry, had to say it that way because that's what it really was. It, when Kamala took over, the ticket, head of the ticket, felt like she surged. But then it does feel like the last couple of weeks she's kind of stalled after the debate. She's kind of stalled. But that's what it feels like on the ground here. That doesn't mean it's factual. At the end of the day, you still got to vote. You still got to go and make your voice be heard. As for me, I'm trying to decide whether or not to do early voting or not. Because and here's the weird thing for me about early voting and voting day of. I go early voting every so often, thinking that if I go early vote, that there'll be no lines and all this kind of stuff. And every single time, whether it was 2012, 2020, or whatever year I early voted, every time I go early vote, I'm always stuck in lines. Whereas every time I voted the day of an election, I'm in and out in 10, 15 minutes. That includes the midterms, that includes the general election and all that. So I don't know what to do yet. And, I know I finally got, I never got a ballot, a sample ballot to go through the amendments in the state of Florida, but I finally got through that. I know where I'm voting on the amendments now officially. None of your fucking business. You want to try to ask what you want for? That's none of your concern. Whom I'm voting for, you probably should know who I am voting for. I know some of y'all can question that shit, but whatever. I come from an age where back in the day, no one asked you that because it was no one's damn business. Who I voted for is who I voted for. And that was it. And now people are like, hey, are you a Trump supporter or are you? And there are folks there are folks today that still accuse me of being a Trump supporter. That's crazy, but whatever. Because I got y'all confused or something. You know what I mean? But I do think this race. I think the race is defined at this point. I think there are many people undecideds when it comes to picking who one or the other. I think there are less of those, and there are more folks who are undecided about whether to support the candidate they would vote for or don't vote at all. I think it's more of that on the Kamala side because of the issue in Gaza, of course, and then some trust issues too, also as to whether or not she's trustworthy enough to handle policy. But we'll see. We got 3 weeks to go. 3 weeks today. We're gonna find out. An update on that too. Also, as we get to my last part here before we bring in Kyle, we are planning on doing a election night watch party here on my YouTube page at youtube.com/Ernest Christian. Check it out. That is the plan. I'm just gonna put out a link out that night of. I have guests on to come in here. Nothing formal. It's kind of like have the election on the background. Have some snacks maybe here, bring some beer, I don't know, whatever, and just have folks, maybe have some people in this podcast range who want to come on and be invited, feel free, and just talk shit. They're nothing formal, just having a good time. So there's that. Also, this week will be a very busy week of podcasts. Typically, my Thursday show I do with Zach Degenerate. We're going to move that up to tomorrow because we're recording our NBA preview shows. There's 2 of them now. Remember, it's a season preview, and there's also the top 25 player rankings we do with Zach and Chris. So the Tuesday show we normally do, Thursday show we normally do actually with Zach and whoever. We're going to move that up one day to Wednesday. It was tomorrow. And then Thursday, we're dropping the NBA season preview show. And remember, this all is determined that this is all recorded on time. Of course, things can happen. For example, Chris is out in Las Vegas right now on vacation in Nevada. So things can fall apart there. Things happen, of course. Kids get sick. Something happens. Is what it is. But the schedule is right now. I was doing the show today. But the show we do with Zach normally on Thursday, that drops on Thursdays, will be released on tomorrow. And then the Thursday show will be the NBA season preview. And then, of course, we'll have all that good stuff the rest of the week. Again, it's good for you guys, as listeners, because you're getting more content. That's all that matters for you guys anyway. You want more content and good content in that. So I'm here to deliver goods as is. So with that being said, I am done talking about myself and my life and everything else. Let's bring in Kyle Nash as we review the week that was in the NFL and college football. All right, Student Game Report. It's week number, 7 entering now? Kyle Nash.
7. That's right, buddy.
A lot going on. I was saying before we start recording the segment that I'm really excited about this one because I think they always say like the first 4 weeks you get a pass. Like 4 weeks you try to figure things out.
Well, that's the first quarter of the season.
Right.
This and that, whatever.
But by week 6-ish, you kind of have an idea who's the real contenders and pretenders. Had an idea for the most part, at least.
Well, by week 6, you start to see who's happening, and you could start to dissect who's going to make trades and who's going to jettison assets. Right.
Well, speaking of trades.
Oh man, I didn't know you would be that excited about Roy Robertson Harris going from Jacksonville to Seattle. That's
did you hear that? Wow, pretty big time tilt there.
I'm kind of amazed that you're involved in that. There's hope for you, basketball fan, to give it. Obviously, you're not talking about that. Come on.
Well, breaking news that dropped within the last.
Let me say this too. I'm missing. We will talk about Roy Robertson Harris on Wednesday on the Duval Dive, but in the meantime, go ahead, sir.
Depressing Jags coverage. Not depressing. You and your boys is pretty awesome. Even despite
you put some respect on Travis D. Holmes' name.
Yeah, T. Holmes. I know. I get it. I'm gonna say you guys are awesome, but I mean it's kind of depressing these days for the team itself, not for you guys, for the team itself.
I think it's healthy for Travis as a member of the Duval Devout, who covers the Jags for Big Cat Country in the same fashion that I do for Fans First Sports Network. Him being a member of the Duval Devout, I think it's uplifting that he hears me making jokes while he breaks it down. I really think it's kind of it's a therapy for him, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Let me then you know what? Let me just blow on one of my questions I had on the docket for you now, pertaining to the Jaguars.
Well, I mean, let's get through the trade stuff first.
No, right. But you're ready up. You have the Jaguars up now.
All right, continue.
Does Doug Peterson survive this year?
I'm pretty sure whatever we see is going to survive this season. For one, there's an extra politics to it that, like, especially now, while Shad Khan is in London, and he's remoting into the NFL meetings that are being held this week, on Tuesday, as we record this today, right? The meeting's being held in Atlanta amongst the NFL owners or whatever. He's remoting in to not have to fly 18 hours there and back. But I say all that to say this is the NFL owners approving the deal they have to build the new stadium there in Duval.
Right.
So the last thing that Shad Khan needs is a show of complete disarray from the franchise. Not that there's any risk of anything wrong or anything like that, like with the deal itself and that vote going. I don't see the NFL owners rejecting the stadium build such that it is. But I think there's some element of stability that presents if you wait till the end of the year to do it. And the downside to that is, frankly, to let Trent Baalke be involved in one more hiring and one more draft is problematic. And any knowledgeable football person within the Duval Devout, including myself and Travis Holmes, I'm not a member of the Devout, but I just consider myself knowledgeable here to say, because I've watched Trent Baalke ruin two franchises, to deal with whatever may come, damning the torpedoes and firing Baalke now to get a new GM in, to get new scout and get them hitting the ground running, doing scout work, getting this new class under control, figuring out what the needs are, getting a direction to rebuild the franchise. To be honest, I'm sure Doug Peterson would go with Trent Baalke, but if he didn't, I wouldn't necessarily be wounded by that, because I believe the rebuild would help Doug Peterson's ability to do the X's and O's work better, right? That went so well his first 2 years there in Jacksonville, first year rather in Jacksonville. But I think a lot of that, any movement you see, long story short, is going to happen after the season. And the downside of that is that I mentioned Trent Baalke about ready to hire his sixth coach. Travis and I, after the Duval Dive live on Sunday, walked through what that list is. How many winning coaches of those five has Trent Baalke hired? Do you know?
I don't know. What is it?
I can help you.
Go help me.
The answer is one, but let's go in reverse order of the coaches he's hired. Obviously, Dougie P., who did start out his first two seasons with a winning record. That's now toilet water at this point, right? Unless the Jags pull off a miracle, the likes of which is virtually impossible. His previous hire was the immortal Urban Meyer, probably the worst NFL hire in
history.
I like that we did that in studio. I was freaking great.
Awesome.
But not that his two hires before that were great either. Mm-hmm. Chip Kelly, the
that's right,
in San Francisco. And do you bonus points if you remember the name of the coach that came before Chip Kelly?
Oh God. My God. Shit.
You won't. I got you. It's Mike Tomsula.
Oh my God, that's right. The 1 year he was there.
The 1 year he coached after being the interim for Singletary, right? Jim Harbaugh.
Did he hire Harbaugh? I know he fired him or whatever.
Jim Harbaugh is the only successful coach in the Trent Baalke era, and much to the joy of Homer Big Jim and people in Ann Arbor. Baalke fired him because of the pissing contest that took there too. 44-19 was Jim Harbaugh's record, EJ Christian. How many wins combined came from the following three coaches, including Urban Meyer? The answer is 9.
That's terrible.
9, and let me do the math. Hold on. 11 plus 14 is 25, plus another 11 is 37. They were 9-37, and the reason why that number is weird is because Urban Meyer didn't finish the season. Mm-hmm. He is still living on hiring Jim Harbaugh all these years.
Even though he's the one that also got rid of Jim Harbaugh too.
I don't know what's being seen. I don't think any other NFL franchise hires Trent Baalke. And the only reason why he's remained as long as he had is because Shad Khan is so disconnected from the franchise. Granted, he's doing owner shit. I'm not here to say he's bad at being an owner per se.
But day-to-day stuff.
I will tell you, he is bad at making sure his football team is a good football team.
Right. Well, that'll be a story to watch in the months to come, because obviously, I mean, we can safely say now that at this point, the Jaguars' playoff chances are pretty much close to dead as you can without saying it, because it's still mathematically still alive, obviously. But I mean, and what we've seen now these first 6 weeks, not very encouraging. So,
not great, Bob.
Not exactly. All right, so we got the breaking news about an hour or so ago. Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers reunion is official.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders trade him to the Jets for, I believe, it was a conditional third-round pick.
Yeah, if he's first or second team,
correct,
all NFL or something like that, according to the AP,
right.
Or he is an active member of the Super Bowl or conference championship.
That's cute. That's cute. With that O line, it's cute though. Look, here's my. I said my piece earlier on the opening of this episode. Is this trade a bit late now? 2-4 Jets.
I like that the Jets made the trade because from this standpoint, whomever Aaron Charles Rodgers gets replaced with may have a Devontae Adams and a Garrett Wilson duo in the building if they can retain Adams. And that's not a terrible grouping, you know. I don't know that that's successful. But to your point, do I think Devontae Adams makes that big of a difference this year? Hell to the no, to the no, 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 hell no, no, to the no. How much I would have done it on the kazoo, but that's not the same impact. Anyway.
No, you need soul for that. Kazoo don't give you soul.
Kazoos do not give you soul. It's one thing to go, oh, whoa, huh, and it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, how the hell did we talk about doing war on the kazoo? That doesn't make any damn sense. Anyways,
it doesn't help either because we're probably on the same wavelength here too. Also, that O-line ain't fixed. It don't matter what the hell you got. Jerry Rice in his prime.
Tell you, but you wouldn't listen.
That line looked like shit last night. Looked like shit all year long.
That had the Jets making the playoffs.
Yeah, because I was under the assumption they addressed that issue.
But they didn't. They brought in a bunch of old injury-prone dudes who are talented when on the field, but you can't help the club in the top. Come on, Ernest Christian.
You're wrong there.
It's hard to tell you, but you wouldn't listen.
The only reason why I wouldn't call this, late, because the AFC, unlike the NFC, and we'll get to the playoff locks and later on this segment, it's not defined yet. Like obviously the division winner, I think we're safe to say. I think
it's defined yet. We're 6 weeks in,
right? And the AFC wildcard picture is such a mess.
What are we doing here? It's a third of the 18-week season. Kyle, there's a bye. I said 18 weeks, not 17 games. There's a difference. #math. So
I give you now the next 4 weeks. We always do snapshots. Okay, so they're 2-4 now. The next 4 weeks, obviously we'll define where the season goes.
Right.
At Steelers, at Patriots, Texans, and at Cardinals. You got to go 3-1 at worst.
I was just going to say that. If you're this team that we were promised by Woody Johnson that allegedly Robert Saleh was stopping, biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever seen. Hashtag I said what I said. 3-1 is your only option beyond being undefeated. Do you see that happening? I'm not convinced they get past the damn Steelers. How about that?
There you go. With as bad as their O-line is right now, have been all year long against that defense.
Can you rule out the Patriots upsetting them? I sure can't. Division physics for one, and two, Drake May, while he did throw 3 picks, balanced himself out at least.
Yeah. So, and that's the issue. If you can't get your line fixed, you're screwed. That's why there's this move feels like, okay, cool. And maybe in the long term, if Rodgers does not retire this year, which we don't knowing his instability in his brain,
right?
You can't rule it out. Maybe long term, 2 year long term, like think about a 2 year sample, maybe it's a good move. But that line's a problem, and that's why I can't necessarily go all in and say, "Oh, it's great." It's a good move in terms of like, yes, it does help. Does it help the team and now in terms of like moving the offense? Yes, it does.
Have you heard the conspiracy theory on social media?
What?
That A Charles Rogers, Quayron, as our good friend Big East calls him, of Huddle Up Inc. Because he's so anti-vax, he joined Woody Johnson's team, who's connected to, I think it's Johnson & Johnson, I forget which company, that makes vaccines. Aaron Charles Rogers is purposely tanking to protest his involvement in vaccination.
That's just
it's not real. It's comedy. Settle down.
I'm not right. I'm just saying that even if it's even remotely like something to that, like now your brain's just fucking unmushed at this point now.
It's a joke, man.
I understand.
That's a joke.
That's a joke. It is a joke. I know, but we'll see. Like I said, they gotta go 3-1 next 4 games to even have a shot.
Trump is a joke. You need to sit down. Settle down.
Talking politics now with people, Arnold included. Yes.
I'm the governor, the honest Christian. California was my state. California. It's not. That's one of the best things to say is that state's name in the Arnold voice. By the way, for those out there that may not be as
hip on Arnold Schwarzenegger
voice acting inclined as I am. California. It's wonderful. I would also like to talk about an instrument called the Glockenspiel.
Get down! Get down!
Get down! What do you want? What do you want to do with the debt in the state of California government? Get down! What can I say except you're welcome?
That's right. I don't care about records. I feel like the Lions are the best team in the NFC.
Now, I mean, we've seen your top 10.
But I'm sorry, the Lions feel like the best team in the NFC. I don't care how good Minnesota looks, 5-0 record and all that stuff. I don't care about that. I think the Detroit Lions right now are the best team in the NFC.
They're the best performers so far. Here's the thing about the Lions. And by the way, Madden Campbell, please do not bite off my kneecaps for just analyzing. Okay, nothing personal, guys. Okay. I have the Lions in the Super Bowl, so please don't bite my kneecaps as I get into this. I will say they're the best performing team right now. Right, losing to the Bucs was interesting. Yeah. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know if it was an odd, lacking a better word, scenario, right? Wasn't that? I'm trying to remember. Wasn't that like a Thursday night game or something?
No, Sunday, a week 2.
Yeah, it was Sunday.
It was Sunday game. Sunday 1 o'clock game.
Wait, wasn't it September? No, and it wasn't Monday night either. Okay, no,
it was Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock. I remember exactly what it was.
Okay, yeah, and that's okay. I'm trying to find what was odd about that game because maybe it was not taking the Bucs seriously. They cannot be blamed for that.
Yeah,
but I mean, they can be blamed for it. You're a professional team. Get ready. But like, I can see how that would happen. It's probably a better way to say that. But yeah, I don't know. They're the best performing team. But Kyle, the Vikings are undefeated. Playing who exactly? I get it. They boat raced an undisciplined Texans team who will be 3rd or 4th in the AFC and then get eliminated, quite possibly, in their first playoff game. So let's put that in perspective that the Texans are dominating a struggling ass division right now. Okay. Yes. The Colts are underperforming, just as I tried to warn you, but you wouldn't listen about Anthony Richards staying healthy, right? The Titans are the trash. I tried to warn you, but you wouldn't listen. And then I put a little too much stock in the Jags O-line improvements, and the moment I saw them faltering against the Dolphins, I completely changed my tune on them. So granted, they've pissed away at least 2 wins, but whatever, the Jags are still bad. The punchline is, would you say that that's the Vikings' current marquee victory? And if so, Can I take them seriously? This is no different than Notre Dame getting props in college football for my money.
No, I get all that. No, look, I don't want to sit there and rain on the Minnesota Vikings parade either, too, because
I will.
It is what it is. But I look. This is based on what I've seen. My eye test is telling me this. This is what my eye test is like. I look at Detroit, I look at Minnesota, and I see records. I get all that. And look, Minnesota's been phenomenal this year. 5-0. No one thought it'd be this good.
Well, and your eye test should also expose the Vikings. Oh, but Kyle, they beat your 49ers. They certainly didn't have the full roster, right? And they beat the Packers, sure, after letting them back in the game in the fourth quarter. People like Mikey the Burn refused to acknowledge.
Oh, that was a messy fight last week, you two.
Woo. And I'm still right. He can't handle the fact that he's been defeated. But the punchline being this, that's a joke, guys. Settle down.
I know.
But at the end of the day, if I'm supposed to trust you like that, having beaten the Packers by 2 points when you were up, 4 scores? Not great, Bob. I have questions,
And then, as bad as the Jets looked in London last week, they were literally a drive away from winning that game.
Yeah, well, and London games are weird, more on that later.
Mm-hmm.
But I will give the Vikings this credence. I will be watching them closely against the Lions. Well, granted, they won't have Aiden Hutchinson. So again, another asterisk. This is some Patriots-esque stuff where they seem to be getting a lot of things breaking their way. But I mean, any team that's undefeated gets that sometimes. I'm not here to say the Vikings aren't a good football team. They're certainly better than the frauds that 13-win group that lost to Brian Daboll, who incorrectly was awarded Coach of the Year. I shouldn't say Daboll. I should say Saquon Barkley, because, the entire strategy was give the ball to Saquon and the Vikings can do nothing about it.
Folks, you're still butthurt about that, for the record.
That's not butthurt. These are facts.
You all are. You, Mikey B, Matt Elizen, Jim, and you can all suck on that.
Resisting facts that hard proves that is, in fact, your anus that is violated, okay?
I'm not violated at all. He won the award, so it doesn't matter.
And, okay, sure. And Joe Flacco was the comeback player of the year, right? That got quiet.
Last year? I haven't coached you last year?
What?
I haven't coached you last year. I'm comeback player last year, did I?
I don't know if you did or didn't. What we're commenting on is the handing out of awards by the president, how often they get it right or not.
I'm not saying they get it right all the time. I'm just saying they agree. All I said, they agree with me.
Don't get it right all the time. Thank you.
I'm the same, but I'm right. And they got it right because I'm right because they got it right. All I'm saying is that because they got it right because I was correct. That's why.
Oh, so your flawed basketball.
My ego trumps everything else, buddy.
Well, your ego and Trump being in the same sentence is perfect.
Don't be rude.
Well done, sir. Well done.
I love this podcast, but I'm going to say it now. The Lions
are still better today, and we'll find out Sunday.
I think they are, and that's the great part. Viking fans go piss. Listen to the podcast. Oh, what the hell, disrespect. We're going to know on Sunday. We'll know well on Sunday. But that being said, I think right now the Lions are the favorites to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC. That's how I feel right now. They are the favorites.
Missing, huh?
Even with Hudson missing, yes.
I mean, I can say that today, but if the Niners suddenly get hot, which you can't rule out, that could change.
Yeah. I'm willing to, things change in the next 4 weeks. We always have that conversation.
Yeah. And I picked the Niners thing just because it's low hanging fruit. I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
But it's also true because the Niners do this shit every. What the Niners are doing this first 5 weeks of the year, they've been doing for 2-3 years in a row.
No. Last year they were dominant out the gate, lost Trent Williams for 3 weeks, and then continued to be dominant.
Remember, they fell to 3-3 last year at one point. Remember? And then
yes. Again, Trent Williams got hurt. They started hotter than they typically do. What you're thinking of is 2 years ago with Trey Lance and that grouping, right? And to that extent, you're right. Hell, I think even the previous year there were elements of that.
My point is they get hot late in the year, so like the record doesn't matter. They'll win the division. The division sucks. We'll get to the locks in a second. They're the only team I think in the NFC. I feel like if they get healthy, they're the only team in the NFC I think that can challenge. I mean, strongly challenge the Lions. Maybe the Packers. We'll get that in a second, obviously, as I have Green Bay going to the NFC title game as well.
Because even not healthy, they've done well, but everybody seems to be penalizing.
Of course. So yeah, but I feel like right now, heading to Week 7, You give me the favorites in the NFC, it is Detroit Lions.
Okay.
They're dynamic as hell. On offense too, they're so dynamic. They're so well balanced.
I don't. Yeah, balance is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Dynamic, I guess. It depends on. Well, they can be dynamic, and they can also be absolutely brutal up front. So there's that.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Meanwhile, the team they beat, Dallas Cowboys, they are mid as fuck. They are mid as fuck.
Go
ahead.
I am very excited that you, as a Cowboys fan, can admit that about your team.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. And the worst part, Jerry Jones' worst home loss in the Jerry Jones era on his fucking, was it 82nd birthday?
Yeah.
Good God. What an embarrassment.
Happy
birthday, Jur. I also said we discussed last week on the podcast, we snapshotted 6 weeks of the Cowboys.
You did.
And this will define the season because they had tough weeks up to shoot. Detroit obviously lost to you already. We have whatever order it is. Falcons, Niners, Texans.
Yeah, right.
And if that is a preview of things to come, what we saw on Sunday, things to come, you ain't getting, forget 10-win season. You ain't going to postseason this year.
Well, and we told you in that very same podcast, or at least I did, that the Steeler win was going to cost them the Lions game because they needed to spend a lot to play a physical Steeler team.
Mm-hmm.
Jim's somehow I got I had the Cowboys missing the playoffs, and I just couldn't believe in the Bears enough to replace them. Now it turns out my fear was incredibly misplaced, and my brilliant mind, which I should have trusted from all along, was exactly correct. And I can't take a victory lap. I'm just acknowledging fact and frustration. I tried to tell me, but I wouldn't listen. I guess that's what I'm saying. So
and here's the worst part too. Also, what their issues is really can't be fixed on the fly because they don't run the ball well this year,
which we should have.
Their line sucks.
Happen. Their
lines,
right? They haven't turned their line over from Christ. What was it? 10 years ago ish now.
Yeah.
They had that really awesome group that hid DeMarco Murray's shortcomings that brought rookie Dak Prescott along that had Tony Romo make it to the postseason and deal with the Dez Bryant catch situation. All of it was accounted for with that offensive line. So I don't know. To your point, though, as you said it, EJ Christian, those aren't fixable issues, which is why I came up with the whole plan in the first place to talk about the NFC East vacuum and all that. And I know you're ready to crown the Red Tails. More on that. Sorry, Commanders. More on that later. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm not. The Cowboys are in trouble. Will they make the playoffs? Probably not. I don't mean to ruin EJ Christian nor Big Jim Neeson's day by dissing Cowboys fans and their team here directly on the show as such. But that's where we're at. Are they collapsing as hard as the Eagles? I don't think so. The schedule is just incredibly unfortunate to the Cowboys, as you said. Like that docket is nutty. And you touched on it. You mentioned the Falcons. I said they play the Niners next week. That's not accurate. It's in 2 weeks, by the way. The Niners play the Chiefs coming up next week. So that part I had a bit off. But the Cowboys themselves, Niners, they do have, or no, I think the Cowboys might even be on a bye, I think. Their Cowboys are on a bye coming up. I don't know what they can figure out. We'll see what happens.
Guys. Sorry, buddy.
It'll be interesting to see how little the bye week going into the Niner game matters for the Cowboys. Nobody will
do the schedule
on unless you said sorry, because like I often do, I carried the show while you were out.
You went through the schedule, aren't you?
Only slightly. I just mentioned the fact that the bye week for the Cowboys won't matter when it comes to.
It's probably the most important bye week of the year. Because these next 5 weeks don't get any better.
They only get 1 bye week. Oh, you mean amongst the 32 teams?
Yeah, because you have Niners, at Falcons, Eagles at home, Texans at home, and then the Commanders now, which we all thought was a throwaway before the year started, ain't not anymore. And then
the Red Tails have a chance to confirm the vacuum theory.
And I could argue the Giants game on Thanksgiving, given how that game played out 2 weeks ago. Yeah, they'll win the game probably. Probably should, but who knows where they're at as a team by that point.
Well,
they're fucked. The rest of the schedule's fucked. Because like the easiest game is Carolina. You got Bengals, Bucks. They're done. Sorry, Jim.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. I'm happy.
Well, you're happy that your Cowboys are going to get that first round pick.
No, I'm not. No, stop it. I can't stand you sometimes, dude.
What can I say except you're welcome?
Yeah. Speaking of Commanders,
yes, I did take command of the show. Thank you for
you did. You know what? You were great at that. I appreciate you, my buddy. Look, them losing to Baltimore, not a surprise. I think we all think Baltimore to win that game.
Let's put a little perspective on it too.
Yeah.
It ain't like Baltimore's been consistent. I
Agreed.
I think Mark Andrews returning to the fold is awesome. I think that's
huge.
Anyway, huge adjustment. You just think the best addition. But greatest. I've heard some even people say it's even greater than. Anyways, go ahead.
But them obviously, if they win the game, obviously it's a massive win for the Commanders moving forward.
Yeah.
But to me, it was less about the win. I want to ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to seem competitive in Baltimore. Did the Commanders at the very least pass a smell test?
I mean, it depends on what you're sniffing for.
Well, in other words,
I mean, I heard it said, and I don't like to quote this guy because he's been stealing my money for years.
Who's that?
But Booger McFarland said he learned more about the Red Tails in a loss than he did the Ravens in that win. And I think that's a great statement.
Right.
This is a team that could have easily been annihilated by a mainstay. The Ravens at this point seem to be the hallmark of stability in the NFL. We used to want to say the Steelers were that too, but their quarterback situation in the past couple of seasons, screw it. Since the retirement of Ben Roethlisberger and them not having a replacement ready to go and leaving themselves in the position to roll the dice on Kenny Pickett, and then not committing to it by starting Mitch Trubisky. What were you doing, Tomlin? Damn it, Omar Epps. Anyways, but the Ravens as a steadfast organization that's always in the hunt, that's always in the mix. Unless there's an injury involved, you can pretty much chalk them up to the postseason. For them to have it be a one-score game is a big deal. Yeah,
I feel good about this team. I don't feel like come on, they lost. Like, oh, these are a bunch of pretenders.
If you don't have the Red Tails in your top 10 this week, Ernest Christian, you're wrong. You should stand there in your wrongness and get used to it.
Well, I already submitted my top 10 to Big Jim tonight. You'll see that tonight on the Hello Podcast at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's good. That's really good. Yeah, I feel good about this team long term, and especially when we're talking about like the NFC East now, especially, we're saying it's a two-team race. Dallas is out of the two-team race now, in my opinion. To me, it's Washington and it's Philly.
Okay, sure, but I mean, the Eagles pod racers holding on for dear life here is about to get eliminated itself here.
Well, Philadelphia again, the Eagles, and I'm obviously just not talk about the Eagles.
Did I just say that Jaden Daniels is a young Anakin Skywalker piloting a pod racer? Yes,
I love it.
I did.
I love it. And my wife would appreciate that too, especially being a Star Wars fan as she is.
Well, you're welcome, Ms. Speaking. There you go.
Miss Speaking. What the fuck, Miss Speaking?
Well, if you're earnestly speaking,
I know, I get it, but like Mrs. of the game, the last name of the last part. Yeah, I get it. No, I feel really good about the Commanders moving forward. Like Booger was right. I learned more about the Commanders in the loss than the Ravens in the win.
Did it feel weird to say that phrase? Booger was right.
Yeah, a little bit. Booger's a little bit. I'm not as bad as you are with Booger. You hate the guy. He's
not stealing your money. You're a basketball analyst.
Oh, now you're a basketball analyst now? Now you meant that? You
always said
bastard?
you're a basketball analyst. I'm
I
just
hate
better
dude,
than you
shut
at
up.
it. There's a difference.
Speaking of the Eagles, despite the win against Cleveland, and it was an ugly win, should we be concerned in that? I mean, wins. The NFL, I get it. You know what he can.
I think, and I hate to keep going to the bag with this particular quote, but I think it actually applies to your question of wasn't an ugly win. Should we still be concerned for the Eagles? Duh! Yeah, obviously, because it was the ideal Nick Sirianni meltdown situation, yelling at the fans and shit. Listen, we all know there's a reason why the student of the game weeks back on your show here, earnestly speaking, student of the game report, all that, right? No, I'm not giving it a bell. I'm on the show.
It's okay.
Mention this power vacuum theory. There's a reason why on the Student of the Game podcast, I had Candy Waller, C. Waller herself, president of Bowie TV, and a regular credentialed press member for the Red Tail, Commanders. And they're all buying the theory. Now, Kyle, she covers the Red Tail. Yeah, okay, cool. I have a Cowboys fan right here. That is even more of a zealot about the power vacuum than I am. Aren't you, EJ Christian?
And again, the Eagles stuff feels internal only. They have the talent, clearly. AJ Brown's back. He had a big catch in that game on Sunday.
Well, it was Devontae Smith that had the big play too, I think.
Yeah.
The Reaper was in the building.
Correct, but the one that clinched the game in the end.
Sure.
AJ Brown with the man coverage. But so I feel like the issues are internal. It's like, okay, let's clean up the locker room. Let's clean up whatever disconnect they may be. That's the whole reason why I brought up the whole thing with the press conference with Jalen Hurts 2 weeks ago on the Hello podcast. Everybody gave me shit for because
the reason why for it is you made that your linchpin of your argument. That press conference correctly should be listed as another straw in a damn pile that has come to lift with Sirianni. That's the reason why people gave you hell.
It's only confirming what the concerns felt like, and then you see, pen to paper kind of thing. Like, there is shit going on here.
Feelings, nothing more than feelings. Sorry.
But again, I'm relying on the Eagles' talent to see him through. By the way, did you see Nick Sirianni's action after the game's actions? Did that bother you? Him yelling at the fans in the game?
Of course.
It did?
No, it absolutely bothered me. Yeah.
Okay, why? Okay.
That's proof of the dysfunction.
Okay.
Like if you Sirianni by now should be used to Philly fans. Fair statement, right?
Mm-hmm.
If now you're inclined to talk trash on them like you did the Chiefs after you beat them in the air quotes revenge game after the Super Bowl, that exposes to me Sirianni's confidence, or shall I say, the lack thereof, right? So yeah, that's a problem. Or I should say it's a symptom of a problem, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Another team that won, but not looking impressive, the Bengals on Sunday Football. What do you think?
Listen, I for the Bengals, for them to get to where people are expecting them to, or people who reasonably expect them to get to the playoffs, not these crack addict fans, no disrespect, Burn, that thought they were going to win the Super Bowl. Survive and advance is their mantra. I can make the argument that what they're actually doing is building a case for Joe Burrow to get MVP in the event that they actually make it to the playoffs. I don't think it's hard to think they will at this point because they've dug one hell of a hole. But to your point, as you keep mentioning, the AFC not formed yet. So strange things could happen.
Yeah. And in fact, you and I did the whole thing. We had them go to the playoffs. We'll get to the playoffs in a second through 6 weeks. That's coming up very shortly. But the offense, I mean, maybe it's a credit to the Giants defense, how well they play. Because to be honest, they've been one of the only things the Giants this year have been very solid to defense, keeping things at length.
Perhaps. I'm not here to rule it out. To be honest, I think this is about, again, survive and advance for the Bengals. How much of it was them taking the foot off the gas to try to preserve themselves moving forward, too? This is a marathon, and this is already a marathon, and the Bengals have put an anvil on their back. I mean, it is what it is.
Right. Obviously, you watched the game on Sunday because you covered the Jaguars, but I want to talk about the team on the other side.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is slowly figuring it out now.
Certainly seems that way, does it?
Yeah.
And it's hard to evaluate when in the very same sentence, the defense is quitting on plays. He came out back-to-back 3-and-out, scored the first touchdown, threw the interception. It happens. But if it weren't for that interception, they would have been up 3 scores on the Jags by halftime. I'll put it this way. Yes, he blew out the Jaguars.
Yeah.
If he didn't, I would have had more questions. He did what he was supposed to. This is kind of like in college football when, when one opponent completely.
Now it's my problem. Now it's his turn now to have issues, to tell issues. Kyle, as he's just on here, we're talking about Caleb Williams and his phenomenal game on on Sunday morning in London against the Jaguars. Let's see if we can get back here in just a second. All right, slight little technical difficulties there on our end, but no worries. We're still going. So I had the Bears as a playoff team before the year started.
Yeah.
And then I adjusted that, I think, a couple weeks in. I'm still not sold on the Bears long-term as a playoff team this season. I got to see a lot more. The offense is still – look, Caleb Williams the last couple of weeks has looked much more competent. The game it feels like watching him these last 2 weeks, the game has slowed down a little bit for him now. He's actually taking his time and making the right play. He's supposed to just still playing hero ball and trying to force things. And if that's the formula going forward, then maybe this team could, be what I thought before the year started, be a playoff team. But the NFC is too damn deep, in my opinion. We'll get to, again, we keep teasing the playoff locks. I guess we can get there now. Might as well get there now.
Okay, see, listen, let's fix one thing really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
The NFC is still the inferior conference. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The AFC has just had some boondogglingly bad luck.
You know what? Then we're there now. Let's just get this party started. Then we're going to bring the locks in. I'm going to bring up the screen, courtesy of NFL.com. And yes, Kyle, I get it. It's only 6 weeks in, but we want to get a feel of what the playoffs might
be
like.
Worse, bro. Like it's going to be like the third preseason game. What are the playoff locks?
For right now, so right. I mean, obviously, we do this more often on a weekly basis, pretty much like from like week 12 on. But right now, if the playoffs start today, which obviously is not, guys, we get it. The bye weeks will be as follows. In the AFC first, Chiefs got the bye. The 2 seed will be the Texans, 3 seed Ravens, 4 seed Bills. Those are division winners. The 5 seed will be the Steelers, the 6 seed will be the Chargers, the 7 seed the Colts. And the bubble, of course, are the Broncos, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Raiders, the Bengals. And
again, the Dolphins being on the bubble should tell you that this is not a good sample.
So again, like last week, I told you, like my initial preseason predictions were I had the Chiefs win the West, obviously. Texans win these first three here, Texans, Chiefs, and Ravens. That was my picks to win those divisions.
I think everybody on the Huddle Up panel had some variation of these 3 teams.
Yes, correct.
In the playoffs at least, other than Byrne, who's a homer.
Right, and the Bills, of course, the 4th seed. I had the Dolphins as the
everybody. I feel like had the Dolphins being much more of a threat,
right?
Because we did not see a week 2 exit of 1-2 with Tagovailoa.
Let's keep it simple here. What in your opinion? Again, 6 weeks in, okay. What holds here on the AFC side? Or I guess what doesn't hold? I want to frame it.
I mean, these 3 teams being in some combination of these 3 spots holds.
Okay.
That's accurate. The Bills probably hold. That division is trash now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Unless Josh Allen suffers an injury, and even then, they may still sneak in at the 4 seed because I don't know who the hell going to take the division from them.
Right.
Because it's not the Jets, and they're the only threat, right?
So fun begins here, the wild card. That's where the fun begins for me.
Of course.
And I'm not convinced. Well, I'll say this much.
Yeah.
Let me say right now. The 4 division winners in AFC you see there, I'm locking them up. It's over. All
Okay.
4 teams. I'm
Sure.
there. I'm
Sure.
there.
Because again, injuries and just underperformance and
Yes.
all of it. Yes.
And trust in the teams that are in that spots also.
Hubba, money.
Yeah, exactly. The fun begins at the AFC side with the Steelers at 5, Chargers 6, Colts 7. I already told you I feel good about the Chargers getting the playoffs this year. I believe in Jim Harbaugh, and the more I watch this Chargers team and the style of play that they are implementing on this team, that's long-term benefit. So
yeah, this is your whole they can play in any weather,
correct,
what have you,
correct.
And that's not a bad take. Let me lead with that, okay? And their schedule starts out relatively soft, right? The tough game, of course, the tough pair of games, I'll say, is the Steelers, simply because of the black and blue style of football, which eventually got Justin Herbert leaving the game. And, of course, Patrick Lavon Mahomes II being Patrick Lavon Mahomes II. Which is to say recovering from an interception or something.
Right.
The next 4 games, Cards, Saints, Browns, Titans, all a relatively easy trip. Okay. Yeah. Then it's Bengals, Ravens, Falcons, Patrick Lavon Mahomes II, the Bucks, and then the Broncos and Patriots and close out the season. But they got a stretch of what I could argue of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tough games. It would not be unsurprising for them to go 0-5 there. Right?
Right.
No disrespect to Charger fans, but that's on the board. Maybe they go 1-4 because they get past the Bengals. Okay. Can you survive with a 1-4 stretch? Well, maybe if you go similarly 4-0, 3-1 in the next few weeks, and then some combination of 1-2 and 2-1 with Broncos, Patriots, Raiders to finish the season. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I don't think they'll be number 6 when they do it.
Right. I'll say as much. I'm not going to lock any of these 3 teams up. I will say of the 3 teams here in the spot still, I feel more confident the Chargers holding the spot. But I will say the Steelers, their style of play does give it the credence to say, well.
No, it doesn't, but here's why.
Why?
How do you keep everybody healthy playing football that hard for 18 weeks?
They still find, I don't know, they just find a way every fucking year, bro.
But they're still healthy right now.
Right.
Let's see what happens when they lose, if TJ Watt has to take a break, and Minka Fitzpatrick has to take a break.
Yeah.
If Justin Fields, not to say he's the greatest quarterback of all time, but if Rusty has to come in, do they maintain any of that?
Right. So I'm not locking in this team. I will say I will lock the division winners though. I'm there.
Sure. I think that's the safer play, believe it or not.
Yeah. I mean, whether or not the order stays that way, I don't know, but that's.
I will lock the Bills at 4.
Yeah, me too. If you can go based on positioning here, I would say, yeah, Chiefs 1. I actually will lock the order of these 3 also too, because I said for your started Texas at 2 to be a top 2 seed in the
Texas
NFC.
aren't disciplined enough to be a number 2 seed.
Okay.
You got to be careful with that. I would not lock that up. I'm advising you now to prevent you from getting mocked by
that part. So not locking the position, you mean? Okay.
Correct.
Fine. Okay. NFC side. 1 seed Vikings, 2 seed Falcons, 3 seed Commanders, 4 seed Niners. Then the 3 wild cards. You got the Lions, the Bucks, and the Packers. Let's go to the division winners first. Does this stick? If so, who so?
Falcons and Tails and Niners are the 3 that I think stick. The Vikings, I can't lock them. Not with Matt and Campbell breathing down their neck just before they play each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Okay. I will not like the Vikings for the same reason, obviously. I will not lock the Falcons. I will not lock the Falcons.
I have to lock the Falcons. I picked them to win 11 games.
Yeah,
so
I did too, but I think the Bucks win the division. I mean, I picked the Falcons to win.
Bucks. Oh, so you have the Bucks winning 12 football games?
I think they could get close to it.
No,
I don't. Here's what I'm saying.
Then they may lose to the Falcons. You told me that the Bucks were going to beat the Falcons. Don't be a bitch.
This is not based on Kyle. This is not based.
Kyle, 12 games.
This is not based.
Get past your 11-game winning Falcons.
Let me finish. This is not based on my predictions before the season started. This is based on how I feel right now through 6 weeks of what I've seen.
So
I am not prepared to get the Falcons division right now. I'm not. Sorry, not doing it. Okay. Not happening. So no lock for the Vikings. no lock for the Falcons, no lock for the Commanders.
So what you're saying
go ahead.
is you see the Bucks winning 12 football games.
I don't see the Falcons winning 11.
But you just said you predicted it.
I can see getting close to it, but I don't have no. You have the problem is you have the Falcons winning 11 games. I don't.
You just said you did.
No, I did not. No, I don't have them. No,
right.
no.
Then if you don't, then bleep
not
you.
close. Not even close.
No, what I have is the Falcons winning 11, the Bucks winning 10, and that could just as easily flop.
Right.
So if you don't want to lock the Falcons winning the division, cool. I'm refusing to sit on the fence like the bitch you are.
I'm not on the fence. It's not offending at all because I don't because number one
that actually exactly is offense sitting.
Even though no, it's not.
Sitting on the fence isn't so bad.
No.
I'm just refusing to do it, so you can't accuse me of it.
No.
Simple.
But I never do that with you though. You're the one who you don't fence it. Jim does. You don't.
I mean, hey, listen, you need to take him up on that 8:30 Tuesday night on the Huddle Up podcast.
The reason why I can't get the Falcons to the division because I don't think that number one, even though I had them win the division before the year started, I don't think that's the way it'll play out going forward.
Please keep in mind too, the Falcons currently have the one up, right? They won the head-to-head. With the second one still,
true.
They could
but I think the Falcons will Falcon as they always do.
Okay, so here's where you can't dodge the question. You think the Bucks win the second matchup?
Yes, and I think win the division ultimately.
Hey, there you go. Welcome down.
Vikings can't lock. The only lock of the division winner here at this point is the 4th seed, the Niners. I'm locking them up. I don't care.
I'm locking the Red Tails, damn it.
I'm not there yet. Not there yet.
I am.
Not there yet.
I am.
As for the wild cards, the Lions will get in the playoffs and will win the division, in my opinion, still. Okay, the Bucks will be a lock as a division winner because I think they're going to.
I think interchangeably, the one of the wild cards will be held by the NFC South.
Here's what I'll say: these 3 teams right here, sitting here in the wild cards, will be in the playoffs, just not in the same position, other than Green Bay. Detroit division winner, Tampa division winner, Green Bay with a wild card.
Yeah, accurate. Which unfortunately leaves an otherwise deserving Bears team out to dry.
Yeah, Bears won't get him. I remember I had the Bears get him before the playoffs started, before the season started. I changed my mind now.
I mean, my miscalculation is obviously the Cowboys and Eagles in my predictions. I let Eagles fans in my circle. No, not you, Matt Muleheisen. Take it easy. I let Eagles fans in my circle. No, not you, Evil Twin Sean. Take it easy. Tell me that the coaching changes they made and Saquon Barkley would be enough. And it ain't looking like it so far. And there's still plenty of time for that to turn around, by the way. Eagles fans may have the opportunity to dunk on me ad nauseum 11 weeks from now. Mm-hmm. But in the interest of actually giving analysis based on what I've seen so far, not aware of what changes could come and avoiding sitting on the fence, that's where I'm at.
The only issue
I've pinned the NFC East power vacuum theory.
The issue I have here is the Eagles. I think the Eagles will get in the playoffs. They win the division, obviously. So the Commander, I think the last spot is between the Commanders and the.
You still think the Eagles win the East after barely beating the Browns?
Yes, I do.
You still air quotes trust the Eagles. I don't see how.
I am not going to lock it up.
Answer the question. How do you trust the Eagles today?
I still trust them based on the talent. That's it. I'm not going to lock them up at all.
So you don't believe in Dan Quinn as a head coach? Okay.
No. With the Commanders, I got to see more. Let's hope that this loss,
because that's the basis on the strength. I don't care how much talent you got. You could still be an awful football team. Please see what me and Travis D. Holmes talk about every week on the Duval Dive. But did you like that bell with authority?
I do love that bell. Oh, sexy.
So that's the reason why I can't also stay consistent as who I am as a sports personality and let the Eagles have a pass when they are suffering from virtually the same issue except for one part. Howie Roseman's an excellent GM.
Oh, he is a question. Like I said, it's not the fact that I think the Eagles will get in the playoffs. I just think that if I'm picking gun to my head between the two, I'm just going to go Eagles for the time being. But it's not. I'm not locking it.
No one asked you to lock it. Oh, buddy. I'm asking how you trust the Eagles. You said talent. and I'm telling you why I can't match you. I didn't say you were wrong this time.
Okay.
You're about to be, but you aren't wrong yet.
Right. But I mean, the next 2 weeks will change my mind. As I said, also these 4 weeks will change. Will play a lot. The schedule's relatively easy next 4 weeks.
Yes, that's because that's by then it would be 10 games when you start normally doing this segment, but I digress.
That's the fun part of doing this segment in the first place. But anyway, let's get to college football now. Finally, as we had another like fantastic week of college football games.
It's entirely who you ask. There's a lot of people I had to do therapy for with the black and gold.
But as we go through the entire AP Top 25 updated here. Lots of updates this week. Starting with 25, unbeaten Navy.
What the fuck just happened? Yeah, we haven't seen this since what, 2017, 2020. I don't
something.
Been a minute, buddy.
Yeah.
Listen, I dig it. And we'll move from there.
24, same spot, Michigan.
What do we do? Listen, and
too low, too high.
I don't know that they should be ranked right now.
Okay.
They need to show me a little bit more before they get back into the top 25 because this ain't it.
Okay, 23, Army 6-0.
Buddy, don't you sleep on Army. They have thrown for 550 passing yards so far this year. That is epic.
Up one spot, 22, Illinois.
Another team that shouldn't be ranked. Carry on.
That's 5-1, buddy. Come on, give them some credit. You know what I mean?
No, I can't, and I won't.
Who the hell cares? I know. 21.
Oh my God.
Up 4 spots, 21, SMU.
What the fuck are we doing here? Honestly, I think that Illinois is a better choice than. How did SMU get out of 25? What am I missing?
I know.
Anyway, go ahead.
Up 2 spots, 20, Pittsburgh.
By default, sure, another ACC team that does not belong here, but whatever.
They're unbeaten though.
There's a whole lot of college football that still needs to shake out. Like, you know what I see? I see college football with the parody has cloned Janet Jackson. And I'll tell you, if you're into that kind of thing, you better pay attention because there's going to be a whole lot of exposure in the coming weeks.
Up 2 spots, number 19, Missouri.
Anyways, yeah, I think that's appropriate for now. They need to climb their way back in. I'm not mad at that placement.
All right, down 9 spots, 18, Ole Miss. Oof.
It's hard for me to penalize a team that hard on an overtime. However, with as confusing as LSU has been, there's worse placements on this board, and we'll get to them soon enough.
All right, number 17, up 1 spot, Kansas State.
Yeah, sure.
Up 2 spots, number 16, Indiana.
What are they here just because they're undefeated? Because I know they ain't beating anybody, right?
Well, I mean, undefeated, so that's always good.
Who did they beat?
Somebody.
Who did they fucking beat?
Somebody. I don't know.
Who the fuck is Wallace?
All right.
Like some wire smack for you, EJ Christian.
Oh, I love it.
You're trying to rap through it, but you need to admire that shit for the glory that it was.
I love it. Up 2 spots, 15, Boise State.
To answer the question, see, I stalled you successfully. Here are the juggernauts so far that Indiana has beaten and thus should not be in the top 25. FIU. Woo! Western Illinois. Did you know that was a thing? I didn't until just now. UCLA. Oh, boy, another juggernaut. Charlotte. The American Athletic Conference exists. Great. Maryland. Ha! Northwestern. The Vanderbilt of the Big Ten. What the fuck are we doing here? Continue.
Up 2 spots, 15, Boise State.
Love it. Could probably make a case for them to be outranking Notre Dame, actually.
And actually, the higher they go, it makes Genty's Heisman case much stronger. I'll tell you that much.
So long as Travis Hunter doesn't finish the season, there's hope as they go up the polls. You are correct.
Right. All right, up 1 spot, number 14, Texas A&M.
What are we doing?
5-1.
Stop it.
I know how to wire you. Number 13.
All I did was say stop it. That's me rebuking your effort to wire me.
I'm just throwing.
Your effort was exposed like Janet Jackson, like a lot of these teams are being. Honestly, I'll say this: like beating Mizzou handily is why they're there.
Okay. It's a win. It's a win.
It's a win. It's a significant win against a decent football team. I get it.
All right.
You know,
Up one spot at 13. BYU.
Oh, by the way, one last thing. The
Yeah.
other thing Texas A&M has a quality loss allegedly to Notre Dame. Oh wait, that's
Allegedly.
not a quality loss.
Yes, true. 13 BYU. Unbeaten.
Should be ahead of Notre Dame, frankly. I don't think Notre Dame can beat Kansas State. Can you? Guess what? Pew, pew, pew. They did.
Yep.
By the way, the reason why I go pew right there is you spell that BYU. Pew, pew, pew.
That's true. Pew.
You hear it now? Is it there?
Pew. I totally get it. Speaking of Notre Dame, down one spot at 12.
Should be lower, obviously. Next question.
All right. Down 3 spots now at 11, Tennessee.
Not enough. They should be just ahead of Boise State.
Barely beating Florida enough, I guess, huh?
No, the fuck. By the way,
all right.
Live from Gainesville, it's still not enough to save Billy Napier. Moving on.
All right. Unchanged at number 10, Clemson.
Next.
I get it, but
no, you don't. No, you don't, Noller. What the hell have they done?
Nothing.
What have they done?
I get it, but then
no, you don't. If you can't answer the question of what have they done, then
no. I'm saying that they should be below at least 3 to 14 we just mentioned already.
Wait,
2 minutes.
Excuse me.
More.
They have a quality loss to Georgia. They're number 10. Let's go.
Right. Up 2 spots, number 9, Iowa State. Whoa, unbeaten.
Golly. You know, and I know people go, Kyle, you're a Big 12 homer. No, I'm really not. Just because I cover UCF for the Black and Gold Banneret doesn't mean I'm a Big 12 homer, but I will say that the Big 12 right now certainly looks like a better conference than the ACC. Hashtag I said what I said. Iowa State, by the way, UCF on the road in Iowa State. Look out for the Night Shift podcast powered by the Black and Gold Banneret. I'll be here for all your sports fan therapy needs, Night Nation. Anyways, here's the thing about Iowa State. They're entirely pumped up too much because of the committee. What do I mean? Great question, EJ Christian. Other than Notre Dame, who's the other crime against humanity that the committee and voters keep overrating the hell out of and committing year in and year out?
We haven't seen them yet. They're coming up.
Right? No, that's not it.
Not that school?
No.
Oh, damn.
Who's the other school besides Notre Dame that obviously shouldn't be ranked and yet somehow constantly is? So Michigan. I have to cover them either in the Pop-Tarts Bowl or the Citrus Bowl.
Is it Michigan?
Nope.
Not Michigan.
They belonged national champions last year.
It's true. Louisville.
Listen, you need to start firing arrows because you certainly aren't doing it with a Hawkeye.
Oh God.
Iowa. Them beating Iowa by a single goddamn point is the entire strength of why they're here. I'd hate to say it, but I'm sorry. Beating West Virginia's cute. Beating Baylor, who cares? Beating Houston, who cares even less? Beating Arkansas State might be more impressive than beating Houston because you did it 52-7. Okay, but no, this is not a top 20 team. They don't belong here.
All right.
I said what
I said. All right. Number 8, up 5 spots, LSU. Wow.
You know, when you look at their record and see they're 5-1, doesn't it kind of feel surprising they've only lost 1 game?
Yeah, because I feel like that USC losses, I feel like 2 or 3 losses alone.
Well, I don't know about that, but it feels like a team that should have lost more than 1 game. Like they're either sneaking by, whatever.
Maybe it's the bond. Maybe it's the bond of the family.
Perhaps, you know, it's a dysfunctional family. That's possible. But I will just leave it with sure.
Yeah, I get it. But again, you beat a couple ranked teams there. You probably get some love. All right, unchanged number 7. Ooh, Alabama. Rough 2 weeks.
You know, if Bama's here, where is Vanderbilt in the top 25?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. So,
should we? You think that's 2 weeks a blip? You think Bama could get it all together this week?
I do.
Okay, they play Tennessee.
And that'll be a hell of a test, won't it?
Yeah. All right, number 6, unchanged, Louisville. Miami. Plays Louisville this week, should I say.
I think they should be higher compared to at least 2 teams that are in the top 5. But I think they're getting schedule penalized, even though Notre Dame isn't and Iowa State isn't, et cetera, et cetera.
And rightly so for the record. This should be number 6. They're right where it should be. They're not better than Georgia or Ohio State. Sorry, they're not.
I'm not. Well, those aren't the 2 teams with whom I have beef. Shall we carry on?
Okay. All right. Unchanged at number 5, Georgia. Certainly in these guys.
I'm not mad that Georgia's 5. I could certainly make the argument that they should be higher.
Okay. Number 4, down only 2 spots. Despite losing to Oregon, Ohio State.
Yeah, absolutely. Good with it.
Okay. Up 1 spot. Number 3, Penn State.
Let me get this straight. You went to overtime with an unranked team, and you did not move. Excuse me. You did move. You went up a spot. What's the question I'm about to ask, EJ? Question.
Why?
What the fuck are we doing here?
There you go.
That's what.
I gotta start telling us. Start telling it going forward. What the fuck are we doing here?
This was a horrible. The voters did an absolute trash job.
Yeah. I would have been okay with Oregon and Ohio State swapping spots. That's it. Not putting it. I would put Ohio State ahead of Penn State.
By the way, if you're not going to rank Vanderbilt, which I joke, but I understand it, Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year.
All right, up 1 spot with beating Ohio State. Oregon, number 2.
You know, Dylan Gabriel finally wins 1 big fucking game. Okay, cute. Shall we move on?
Okay. I'm just glad to put number 1 because number 1 is still Texas.
And it's not close.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, I know they have to rank Oregon there this week to reward them for, having Ryan Day choke, but I still feel like Ohio State's the second best, certainly still the best team in the Big Ten. Oregon didn't impress me.
If they play again, which they probably will happen in December.
It seems inevitable that that's the Big Ten championship rematch we're looking for.
And I think Oregon will lose that game.
So,
I mean, I don't look me wrong. I'm rooting for Oregon to win the game. I don't like Ohio State, but it is what it is with that. And maybe it's more the fact that I don't know. Oregon does this early in the year and they'll fade. Watch them lose a game that shouldn't lose before the year's over.
They will play a team that is too physical for them, and it will be Thanos style inevitable. And listen, Oregon has pledged that they're full. The guy that runs Jurassic Park, spare no expense. Yeah. All right.
Anyway, Kyle, plug away. Go on, as always.
Honor, joy, and privilege to do this with you again, EJ Christian. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the Student of the Game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the Student of the Game. Check out my writings with the Fans First Sports Network covering the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Orlando Magic. Friday, I'm going to a preseason game, Ernest Christian. You better look out for that. Then, of course, the Black
basketball. 1 week to basketball. 1 week tonight.
1 week till basketball. I will be at the Magic home opener. The only reason why I'm not going to be at the season opener is that they're playing in your part of the woods there in Miami against the Heat. So that's a good way to open the season. One might even say that they're opening it with a bam.
I like it. Bam.
Yes.
I love it.
Dubai, no. Anyways, so see, that's wider than anything I've said regarding the words humpy bumpy.
Humpy bumpy. I love it. For the record, we confirmed it. It was a black guy that said that, not a white guy.
I knew it.
No, I know that's what I'm saying. I know that.
Yes. You were too busy being racist as your hero, Donald Trump. Anyways, so excuse me. Don't be rude.
Yeah.
I'm the rudest, the most rudest of all.
Good Lord.
So coverage of UCF. Basketball is coming for them as well. Check that out with the Black and Gold Banneret, as well as the Night Shift podcast powered by the Black and Gold Banneret, which is currently up. So make sure you give that a check, as well as the Duval Dive Wednesday 7:30 and the instant reaction immediately following the Jaguars game. It's another mid-afternoon or early late morning, early afternoon special.
Mm-hmm.
As the Jags play week number 2 in a row in the UK. So that should be fun. They'll be battering the Patriots. Okay, we'll make the game fun, folks. Just check into that instant reaction. Might even be funnier than the game itself. Anyway, and then of course, the student of the game, 9 o'clock Eastern. I will have Mark Moses of 1560 AM Sports Radio, the Fan of Melbourne, there talking about his Bears and whether or not he thinks they're a playoff threat and how the heck we got here with all that. That's going to be a lot of fun. So, EJ Christian, an honor, joy, and privilege. But until next time, class dismissed.
All right, we're now joined here by who I believe is the most controversial man in all of wrestling, Twitter, social media. So controversial he can't show his face today. As evident by the avatar on the video scope here. Duke Bennett, Duke Loves Wrestling Podcast, my man, my cousin from another mother, apparently. Duke, what's up, bud?
Listen, I want all of the jellyback humanoid bastards to shut your face, turn up the volume, because the Duke is here on Earnestly Speaking, and I am ready to rock and roll, okay? First of all, we got the Duke Loves Wrestling Podcast. We have Devon and the Duke with WWE Hall of Famer Devon Dudley. It's part of the Duke Loves Wrestling Network. I don't even know how I have a network, but I got multiple shows, so we got to call it a network now. But I am here to destroy the humanoids. Let's get it.
Let's start here first, man. Because I had on the docket a question to ask you, but I'll throw it out now. What in the hell is a jellyback humanoid?
That's a great question. And it's been popping up because, people are doing drinking games now. Every time I say jellyback humanoid bastard, now they're taking a shot. So be careful. Make sure you got a cup of water with you while you do that. But, a jellyback.
I have apple juice. That help? Apple juice helps?
That works. That works.
Okay,
Get your vitamin C there.
Word.
A jellyback is a weakling, someone who doesn't have any backbone. They don't stand firm on the truth. They are a little wiggly jiggly. They're jelly, okay? They want to avoid talking about the facts. And really, the card-carrying members of the Jellyback Society of the Galaxy are majority AEW fans. You see them all the time. All they do is make excuses. It never makes sense. They can never stand firm and just say this company is mismanaged. Tony Khan is a humanoid. They need to, change a lot of things. They need to have more women's matches, more black male singles wrestlers need to be top contenders for the world title. They don't stand firm on things like that because they're jellybacks. And we all know that they're also humanoids, and of course they're bastards. So it all comes together.
Well, I already told you, I checked out AEW about a year ago for the same reasons why you continue to stay on their neck. So
yeah.
I was the guy that said on your podcast a couple years ago, which by the way, you sold me an invite to that one. It's been a while. That give him time. And you were right. I don't have to give you time. I'm the one that you trying to get my money, and I'm with you. Yeah. Their product is not what I thought it would be, or hope it would be, should I say? So I checked out early.
It was never geared towards you because you're not a neckbeard. You're not the kind of person who wants to inflict punishment on women because they never dated you in high school and college. You're not the kind of guy who runs around stinking. You actually take showers and you do deodorant. You actually have nice cologne collection. So you're not one of them. Right. And that's really the problem. That's why the show doesn't make sense to you, because they're marketing towards the opposite of you. You're a normal, well-adjusted adult, and these guys are marketing to neckbeard, humanoid, jellybacks, the whole 9 yards. Man, they're marketing to lowest common denominator, unfortunately, and that's why they're failing.
So why am I surprised they got a new record deal, a new TV deal with Warner?
Well, so this is interesting, right? We got to really start peeling back the layers and turning off the noise, because all we're getting for the most part is Dave Meltzer's spin on things. Oh, they're going to be profitable now that they got this deal, and oh yeah, it's upwards of $180 million and all this nonsense. Let me tell you something. Warner Brothers Discovery, and you could check out WrestleNomics with Brandon Howard Thurston, who, I was one of the people that helped launch him into where he's at today when he took over that show. I was one of the few people that used to have him on a regular basis come on Duke Love Wrestling and talk about the economics of, at the time, just the WWE product, because that was the only public data that we had to talk about. But anyway, Brandon points out that WBD has an ownership stake in AEW, and essentially part of this new deal, they gave most, if not all of that, back to AEW. So there's a value in that if you do a valuation. So you can call that whatever you want. You can call it $10 in stock. You can call it $100 million in stock. You can call that whatever you want. But so the question actually becomes, how much actual dollars is WBD paying AEW? And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think there is a change in whatever they were paying him on the previous contract that's ending at the end of this year, quite frankly. So I think whatever they're making up in terms of how much money the value of this contract, this new contract is, it's mostly stock. It's not dollars, though.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, your mind is blown. Look at you.
Yeah.
You don't even know what to do with what I just said there.
No, I don't. I can't. What? Okay. In this deal they got, what's in this deal? Because I heard it's a streaming thing also too with Max also. Pay-per-views on there.
Yeah. So the AEW library is going to be on Max, which makes a lot of sense.
Right?
5-year
library now, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now you'll be able to go to Max and you can catch previous episodes of all the AEW programming and what have you. Good for them. So you have that. I believe they're going to be doing live events there as well. Now that hasn't been confirmed yet, but it only makes sense. Because keep in mind, BR Live is also owned by WBD. And
when
BR
you say
Live
live events, you mean like one-offs?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get consistent pay-per-views on Max yet, but I do believe that you will get specials on Max, which are live events.
Okay.
I think Clash of the Champions, but instead of being on regular cable TV, it'll be on Max. So we can expect that to happen at least once or twice a year. And I don't foresee Rampage surviving this. I think we have Dynamite and we have Collision. I don't expect Rampage to continue to be on TV.
I'm surprised Rampage still exists, to be honest. I forgot it existed.
More people listen to Duke Loves Wrestling than watch Rampage, and I'll just leave that where it is. You folks, you can do whatever you want with that information, but it is what it is,
Right.
So
no, I believe that too. I forgot it existed. Is it still Friday nights at 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
It's the worst time slot I can imagine. Yeah, it's a terrible time slot.
Well, it's not. I don't think it's a terrible time slot for this reason. We know that there are between 1.5 and 2 million people watching SmackDown on Friday nights, and that show ends at 10 o'clock, right? It actually ends before 10 p.m. I think it's technically like 9:57 p.m. or something like that, right? So the audience exists, So where are they going? Well, if you put something compelling on, they'll stick around and watch. Clearly, they're not, because AEW is an inferior product.
So when I last used to watch AEW regularly, Rampage used to get about 400,000 on average a Friday, or maybe 500,000 max. Where are the numbers at now? On average, if you know.
Wait, repeat that again.
No, Rampage. When I stopped watching AEW, when I watched AEW on a regular basis back in the day, and Rampage just started out for the first year, they were averaging about between 300 and 400,000 viewers, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depending how the week is. Where are they now numbers wise on Rampage?
Oh man, I mean, they're doing less than 200,000 viewers, bro. They're in bad shape.
Oh my god,
they're in bad shape. Yeah, they're not. And in all honesty, I think they're overestimated. I think they're closer to what TNA does on Access TV. Yeah, if they get 100,000 viewers, I'd be surprised on a consistent basis. Quite frankly,
right?
I don't think they're drawing much at all, which is unfortunate, because you do have some very talented people on that show.
You do,
but again, it's just mismanaged, bro. You know,
I mean,
it's mismanaged.
Who has Tony Khan's ear?
Quite frankly. What's that?
Who has Tony Khan's ear these days?
Who
The
has
same
Tony
guys,
Khan
Young
what?
Bucks, his heirs, same guys, Young Bucks, the same crew.
Tony Khan has reduced himself to consuming copious amounts of kratom. That's allegedly. That's what I've been told. And
What is
folks,
kratom?
look
What
it
is
up.
that?
Look up what kratom is. You got to look it up, brother. And in fact, why don't you take a moment and look it up? Grab your phone, look up kratom with a K, and just read what the definition is.
Kratom TOM.
Just Google it. They'll correct your spelling. Look it up, right? While I continue to look it up. Look up what it is and what it's used for. Okay, keep going.
Kratom.
Yeah,
tropical
folks,
evergreen tree. Okay.
So when you hear what this stuff is, now I want you to keep in mind that folks in AEW, past and present, have waxed poetic about the fact that Tony Khan loves to consume this stuff. And when you look at his behaviors, it's kind of hard not to see how this is true. It's in fact, from what I understand, he has to mess around with the wacky tobacco just to come down off of this stuff. This is allegedly what's been said about this guy. I've been saying it for years, and Tony hasn't corrected me yet. What is it? Tell the world what it is, there, EJ.
Oh, it's a tree. It's a tree in coffee. In the coffee family found in Thailand and neighboring countries. Low dose kratom stimulant effects is used to combat fatigue during long working hours. I'm trying to find what else there on Google. Yeah, it's a herbal drug.
Whoa! Say that again.
It's not lawfully marketed in the U.S. as a drug product, or dietary supplement, or food additive. Wow.
Wait, go to type in WebMD kratom and then type in WebMD.
Funny to said that. Contains chemicals.
Just read the first paragraph.
Which works like opioids such as morphine. Kratom has pain-relieving effects like opioid drugs. It also has many of the same serious safety concerns as other opioids. Wow, Jesus. People use withdrawal for heroin, morphine. Wow. Okay. Duke Bennett, what's up?
Oh, listen. Okay. So when I say things, folks, you really got to pay attention because I'm giving you the stuff.
You're pretty thorough.
Okay.
You're pretty thorough.
Yeah,
cousin.
Pretty thorough.
You are, cousin. You are, cousin.
If I'm willing to say this publicly, then that means that I know that there's nothing he can do about it because I can prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's the scary part about it too. Tony, I know you're listening because every time I do something, you listen. And that's what I've been told by people who work very closely with you. You'd be shocked who gives me reports. Tony, you got to get off the kratom, buddy. It has turned your decision-making into mush. And that's why that company is not where it should be. Lay off the kratom, Tony. Come on.
All right. Let's talk about the thing I want to talk about here on the segment here. You saw the Netflix documentary on McMahon, Mr. McMahon, of course. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. So I didn't learn anything other than I didn't realize that Shane McMahon is as tortured a soul as he is.
Yeah, that's the best part of the whole show.
Yeah, he's a tortured soul, man. That poor guy. And Vince, with his relationship with men throughout his life, it just seems like trauma repeating itself to a certain degree, unfortunately, and manifesting in different ways. Yeah. But I would argue that it's borderline abusive the way that Shane McMahon has been treated by his father. So that being spelled out the way that it was pretty eye-opening. But other than that, I didn't really learn anything new. We know the Vince McMahon story. We know
essentially it's a WWE story from 1982 on. It's just what it is, with extra added effects. Like, excuse me, his relationship with his father, obviously, his mother, which supposedly allegedly sexually abused him. Apparently,
well, I don't know if that's alleged. He said it himself. So we can't allege that when the victim is saying it happened to him.
Right? No, true. That's but his relationship with his father and they didn't get close to his 13 years old, and then how he got the company in 82, but it was a thing that his dad didn't believe in him and all this stuff. A lot of shit, man. I mean, to me, that part and then the Shane part you just mentioned, his relationship with Shane McMahon was the most interesting and most eye-opening stuff of the entire doc, in my opinion.
Sure.
I I think Shane came away looking like I always felt Shane was a good guy anyway, and I felt like after this documentary he came out even a better guy, in my opinion.
Well, he definitely came out looking like a sympathetic figure,
Absolutely.
and you're 99% of the people who talk about Shane McMahon are only going to say positive things about him. But this is what I'll say. Be careful, folks, with your idol worship in the way that you're always looking to put somebody over, because these are human beings and they're flawed. Shane McMahon does not have a spotless record. You know what I mean? He's gotten himself into some pretty bad situations that I know of, and I've spoken directly with people who've been on the receiving end, and it's bad. It's possible that there are NDAs that Shane is involved in as well, and we'll see whatever comes of that. But my point is, don't act as if this guy is the second coming, because he's not. Now, with that said, I do believe that it's abusive the way that Vince treated him. No question about it. You know, and really pitting Shane and Stephanie against each other, which I just think is horrific. It's not something that a parent should do with their children.
Well, it's clear that Stephanie's more like Vince than Shane is. It's clear, personality-wise.
Sure. 100%.
You know? Yeah.
100%.
Couple of things in that documentary that stood out. Obviously, the Benoit tragedy was a massive turning point for the company and the way they do things. I wasn't watching the product at the time, but I remember at the time when it happened, when he obviously the horrible tragedy of Benoit and his family, whatnot, and watching the news at the time. You know, it was a big deal, but I didn't think it would be as big a deal as it was until years later when I started watching get back into wrestling again and seeing everybody's reaction to him and how they treat him and all this stuff and his legacy. But that was a massive turning point that I learned a lot more about the ins and outs of how they treat CTE and all this kind of stuff. And I'll give Vince credit for this. He at least, more than the NFL and more of the other like Premier Leagues, soccer, maybe, at least made the attempt to learn about the disease.
Did he?
More than the NFL?
I don't know if that's true. Here's what I know.
What?
Vince McMahon was concerned, and really WWE, and as they should be, they were concerned that this whole concussion issue was going to basically take the company out. So they bought Chris Nowinski off. They're the ones who put the money in for his organization to continue to exist and do their research. Right. Now, those folks are supposed to be independent. So the fact that you're giving him the money, that bothers me very much. And that lets me know that there was never a fair and transparent situation going on there as a result of that. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, how many other wrestler brains has that organization gotten since? The answer is 0. Why is that? You know what I mean? It should be easier to get it, especially when you got that affiliation. But is WWE pulling the purse string so that they can, play defense, so to speak, and prevent things from getting out the way that it should? Who knows?
Did it bother you? Did it bother you that Stone Cold Steve Austin said on record that he's not a CTE guy?
Yeah,
I was bothered
very
by
much.
That. I was bothered
very
by
much.
The ignorance of that. It felt very ignorant.
But you gotta remember, here's another guy who's not spotless, and we can't idol worship him. This guy has multiple domestic violence charges on his record. So when we start looking at it, each of his previous wives have gone on record saying that he abused them. So what do we want from this guy who his entire legacy and everything that he has is owed to WWE and Vince McMahon? Of course he's going to toe the company line. He's not going to go too far off the reservation. He can't. You know what I mean? And that's just we got to stop exalting these folks. Ric Flair is one of the most influential people in my life. I grew up watching this guy. I love the fact that he was never the biggest or the strongest, but he found another way. He could talk. He could continue to dedicate himself to being the best, and through hard work, it paid off. But there's a lot of lessons of what not to do.
Of course,
when we start talking about the man behind the gimmick. You know what I mean? And so it's like we got to stop idol worshiping these folks, because here's the reality situation. They are very flawed human beings. There's no question about it. Every single one of them, every wrestler you could ever think of is flawed as hell, just as much as anybody else in any other walk of life. So we have to put it in perspective.
I was surprised how much Hulk Hogan was actually featured in the documentary too.
Well, him and Vince are very close.
To this day,
Absolutely. They're very, very close, and they have every reason to be close. They made each other.
of course.
You know what I mean? And like Hogan said in the documentary, I think Vince trusts me more now because I can't go out there and compete against him. So
That's good. That's a great point. That's a great point. Like, you know what's funny though? Like, I know a lot of it too. What people is like the separating of the artist and the art, all that kind of thing. With Vince, I feel like is of all the people I've ever followed that have had tortured situations in the past, whatnot. Probably with Vince McMahon it's probably the easiest person for me to actually separate the two, because I can acknowledge Vince McMahon as work ethic. No one had a better work ethic for a guy of his position in any form of life that I've ever seen than Vince McMahon. The guy built a company, you know, took it to places where we never thought it would go. You know, didn't give a shit about who he fucked over to do it. Was very regressive with how he did it. Protected his company, all that. Also, Vince McMahon, complete scumbag, an asshole, a complete, dirt. You named the adjective. It applies to Vince McMahon. But I've never felt tortured by that because, I'm watching the product. I'm not watching Vince McMahon. There isn't, but yeah, yes, there's a tie to the two, but then there really isn't. Like, I'm here to watch Seth Rollins wrestle, not Vince McMahon wrestle. You know what I'm saying? So I've always been able to come to terms with Vince in the fact that, yeah, I'm appreciative of Vince McMahon, the man who built the company that I've always been a fan of for 40 years, almost 40 years, but also acknowledge clear as day that he's always been a very shady character at best. Do you ever find yourself having like tortured feelings by this as long-term
no,
fan?
not at all. Not
Okay.
at all. And I'll be honest with you, EJ. I think that our society and where we are at this stage as a collective, human beings, we have allowed ourselves to be so fragile and so unrealistic when it comes to analyzing life. You can't sit here and tell me that every single person that has ever done anything that you consume is a good person. In
Agreed.
more cases than not, they're pretty terrible people that you probably would never want to have over for a beer or to bring around your family or anything. You know what I mean? From a moral standpoint, you don't share the same ideas and so forth. But like you just said, you got to separate the art, you got to separate the product from the person who created it. And folks who can't do that, I don't really have much time for. I think they're ridiculous. I think that they're liars. I think that they're weak. I think that they are the type of people who should not be in any form of leadership at all in
That's
life,
bold.
because these folks will lead you down the well, I mean it, because
Yeah.
they're gonna lead you down paths that don't make sense. It's like, dude, I don't have a clue. The creator of Coke, I don't have a clue what his politics were. I don't have a clue about who he liked and didn't like, or what he did, who he killed or he didn't killed, and all that good stuff. And I don't care. I just want a Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? It's like we gotta separate the product from the person who created it. We can't just sit here and be so fragile about every little thing, or you're never going to consume anything on TV or in a restaurant or whatever. Take
Yeah.
that shirt off right now. Whoever, Walt Disney was a racist. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like, give me a break.
Yeah.
So no, I don't. Vince McMahon's a terrible guy. Of
And
course he is.
yet I fund $100 a month into that motherfucker's pocket, his family.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'll keep doing it. What do I care? You know what I mean? I'm entertained by the product that they produce.
Yeah.
So that's it. and as
Is,
soon as I'm not entertained, they get nothing. So there it
yeah.
is.
Is there anything in the documentary you missed that you wish they touched on?
Not necessarily. I think, in all honesty, I think it was done right. That documentary was not for people who pay attention to the inside of pro wrestling. That was for people who are casuals. That was for the Netflix audience to introduce them to who WWE has been and give them a glimpse of what it is today, because Raw is going to be on Netflix coming in January. So for those reasons, I think that it did what it was supposed to do. I'm not looking for a final chapter. I'm not looking for closure on anything, because it's all evolving. this lawsuit or multiple lawsuits are still in its infancy. We're nowhere near where we're going to know for sure what happened. So I'm okay with what that documentary was.
Yeah, me too. Me too. All right, two things to get you out of here. The return of The Rock. 2 weeks ago at Bad Blood. Do you think we'll see him? Do you think we'll see him before WrestleMania wrestle, or you think he'll? Do you think any chance think you'll see him Survivor Series in the Bloodline feud?
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as his schedule permits, I don't see a reason why you can't have The Rock do 3, possibly 4 events. Why not? You know, one of those events better be Saudi Arabia, since they're giving you $50 million per event. Yeah. I know that much. Those folks earn that. But beyond that, if he's at Survivor Series or if he's at Mania, I think it's great. Why not?
Yeah, I'm surprised they brought him as soon as he did. I thought he would come back maybe at the earliest Rumble or maybe Survivor Series. I didn't think he'd come in October. That shocked me. That really shocked me.
Well, but then you got to ask yourself a question: what projects does he have that are about to come out?
That's true.
The thing about The Rock, he's not a fool. Yeah. And John Cena is playing the same game. He's not a fool. When they pop up, it's because they have other projects that are about to hit.
Here's the thing. They marketed WrestleMania 40 as the greatest WrestleMania of all time. 41, based on the optics, is shaped to be just as, if not bigger, when you consider John Cena's his last run. Obviously, they're going to build this up to be his last run. The Rock will be involved, obviously, now going forward. We'll see how that story. Austin's probably going to be there as well. So if 40 was huge, 41 might be bigger.
Absolutely. And as it should be. I mean, we're getting the last bit of the nostalgia from our childhood, right? Because these guys are aging out and they can only do it for so much longer. So squeeze that toothpaste tube and get as much as you can out of it before it's too late. So I'm all for it, man. I think we got at least another 2-3 years of this, quite frankly.
Speaking of nostalgia, they also announced that the return of what I believe for myself is my favorite piece of product they've ever done. Of course, the return of Saturday Night's Main Event.
Yes.
I'm an old school nut job. Whenever I go to sleep and I want white noise in the background, I always put on Saturday Night's Main Event, no matter the year, 85, 87, 89, doesn't matter. Just as like a way to fall asleep. I put it on just as a comfort. Everybody has a comfort shows or comfort food. Or my comfort show to put on at nighttime when I want to go to sleep is Saturday Night's Main Event. And it's coming back. You talk about, them tapping back into the old school and nostalgia. Here we are now bringing back something that's had a success rate back in the 80s, especially too. And they're leaning into this now. What do you think about
that? I don't want it back unless they're going to do it right.
Okay.
Well, unless they're going to do it right.
How do you do it right? How do you do it right?
It's got to be a super show, man. It's got to be a super show. It cannot be like another episode of Raw or SmackDown or an NXT. It's got to be a super show. I got to see things on that show that I can't see elsewhere. You know what I mean? So if you're not going to do it right, why are we doing it? That's and I'm concerned that they're not going to do it right, quite frankly.
And basically oversaturating the product again.
Well, it's not about oversaturating the product. I just think that with a property like that, with the history and everything that you just described and the nostalgia factor of it, the reason why we feel so good about it is because you could see Hulk Hogan wrestle. You know what I mean? Because you could see Andre the Giant. Because you could see something that was going to be tremendous that you wouldn't normally see on Superstars or Wrestling Challenge or something like that. You know what I mean? The regular TV shows. So it's like, dude, if you're not giving us a PLE type of card, don't give it to us.
Well, that's the thing. They have to, because here's the thing. See, Saturday Main Event back in the day made sense because back then, and this is even before Raw. This was before Raw, but even before half of the time they did was even before Royal Rumble existed, or even before Survivor Series. So Saturday Main Event was the blow off for many of these storylines. And now you have Raw, you have SmackDown, all these other shows. So yes, if you're gonna bring this back, I'm happy to bring it back. I love the trailer too. They lean into the trailer also, the old school trailer also too as well. But they gotta lean into something that's fresh. It can't be it's back, but it's just another Raw. I agree 100%. It's got to stand out. It's got to stand out as a show, as something that's used for blow-offs and something used for something big. You know what I mean? Like The Rock coming back, to me, I would have thought The Rock coming back to WWE would have been perfect for the spot, actually, for him on the show.
Yeah, I can see that. So then here's the question, though.
Yeah.
What if you do that thing with Stone Cold?
Maybe, yeah.
Or what if you do a big title change?
So the Austin's rumors are true. The Austin rumors are true.
Yeah, I mean, wherever Mania is going to be, it's going to be where he lives. I think he's living in Vegas now. Is Mania in Vegas? Is that?
It is in Vegas.
What's happening?
It's in Vegas.
So he's definitely going to be there. There's no question about that. But here's what I would love to see at a Saturday night's main event.
Okay.
I would love to see a dusty finish. I want to see somebody like Omos or Obafemi.
Okay.
A big monster. You could probably even get away with it with what's Thick Boy's name? What's his gimmick name? He has Thick Boy tattooed on himself. Bronson Reed.
Okay.
I want to see a monster destroy and win the championship, and then it get reversed.
Yeah.
So it'll never be on the books officially. But I want for at least a few seconds for us to feel like somebody just beat Cody for the championship. We saw it on Saturday night's main event. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or why can't you do the $1 million man thing again, where he buys a championship and then you got to have a tournament for the championship? Why can't we do that again?
Especially now too, because Cody's reign has been relatively mid.
Well, because he's mid, and I told you guys that he was going to be the worst thing ever, and he's proven it. He's the worst until he becomes a heel.
You think he's
the worst.
Right? You think he's the problem, or you think it's the booking?
No, it's not the booking, because they've given him everything. It's him. He's never been. Cody Rhodes is a C+ player. He's not even a B-. He's not Seth Rollins. I don't even think he's Sheamus. Cody Rhodes is a B+ player. You know what I mean? He's just not exciting enough to sustain being champion. Now the chase is interesting, but that's about it. He's C+. You know, he still passes, but he's just not. You know.
And for the record, you and I warned about this before the title change happened in April. We said this, like, y'all. I know y'all want this, and believe me, I understand y'all want it as bad as you did, but then what? Because the part of the issue is that, and I go back to one of the things I always relate to. I always refer to as a example. People view Stone Cold Steve Austin as arguably the greatest superstar in the history of the company. He doesn't have one memorable title reign though, because most of his moments and his memories are in the chase, not in having the belt. You know, so it's like you gotta be careful what you wish for sometimes when it comes to this stuff. Now, I believe that Cody may need to have a heel turn. I agree with you on that, but I think also too, to be fair to Cody, not having Roman for a while, not having Seth Rollins, he's been hurt in and out for the last 6 months, and the roster being kind of, I don't say depleted, but it's been kind of like meh for the last 6 months. I think it's hurt him too as well, because you need the parts around you to still work around you. I mean, I understand Cody's the guy, but the parts still have to be healthy as well too, to it to work. You agree? Well, I can't hear you if you're talking to me. I think I lost you, buddy. I can't hear you. Let me pause it real quick. All right, we had to close out there with Duke. Apparently some technical issues on his end there. So, again, long show today, as always, but it is a Tuesday edition of the podcast. Don't forget, we're going to be adding more shows this week as we are doing the NBA preview later this week. Again, I am on X/Twitter at EachChristian7. Guys, go to YouTube page, of course, at youtube.com/Ernest Christian. And thanks to Kyle. Thanks to Duke coming on the show. And we will talk to you guys next one. Love y'all. Take care and see ya.